We want to update you now on the latest reports of a shooting at a mosque in San Diego. Police now say that the threat has been neutralized, and our NBC station there reporting that the two suspects are dead. You've been looking at live pictures of the scene at the Islamic Center of San Diego in the Clairemont area of the city. Now, we're still gathering details about what's unfolding, but police do say that the scene is contained. California's Governor Gavin Newsom's office tweeting that the governor's been briefed on the situation and that state and local officials are working on coordination. NBC News law enforcement analyst Jim Cavanaugh joins me now on the phone. So, Jim, we certainly don't have much information about what's going on there. It's obviously an enormous law enforcement presence. We know that the threat appears to be contained, but we have not heard too much about the victims. What exactly are you looking for here as the situation unfolds?
Well, we do see that SWAT's on the scene, San Diego PD SWAT, and their on-scene commander would be the one in charge. Earlier, when we were watching the feed, we could see the SWAT officers behind the armored Bearcat and not moving around, because earlier, 30 minutes ago, they just didn't have it totally contained or finished. Now they're telling us, as NBC has reported, that two shooters are down. And you can see now the posture of the command beside the Bearcat, the armored SWAT vehicle there, is not one of, worrying about getting shot. They're not, they've got it contained enough. They know there's only two shooters, and those two shooters are down. So they have that part of it. We don't know about anybody inside the center that might have resisted the shooters. And I would just say this, we just don't know either the exact motive. We can say active shooter, but it can also be a takeover. When you have two or more people acting like this, they might want to take over the mosque and make certain demands. We don't know what they were doing. Mm-hmm. Were they going in as an active shooter and just trying to shoot children or people in the mosque, or was their plan to make some certain, grandiose demands about something? So we don't quite know. Maybe their the massacre or their plan for a massacre was not fulfilled. Maybe they didn't get to do it. Maybe it was something else. So I think we need to wait and see. We have not seen a, phalanx of ambulances there at the center. Like there's many victims of mass shooting. We don't see that. So we have to at least deal with the possibility that maybe somehow when they went in, they were interrupted, rebuffed. We saw recently a high school principal tackle a shooter at a high school. We've seen security guards at the Jewish school in Michigan who, stopped the killer coming in themselves. So we could have all kinds of scenarios like that. And then if San Diego SWAT gets there pretty quick and these guys are, running around trying to either actively kill or, create a giant standoff, San Diego SWAT might have eliminated them fairly quickly because, they're long riflemen, they're snipers, they're tactical operators, their commanders are very efficient. They're a top-tier SWAT team, and they could handle that very quickly. So possibly, they might have been able to get these guys before there's a lot of people killed. But we don't know that.
Yeah.
We don't know that yet. But we don't see a lot of ambulances. There are some reports of people going to hospitals. So the reporting from NBC San Diego has been so good, so accurate, and it's just like it is now. We know there's two attackers down, some people injured, and the scene is static now. And that's all we really have.
But you raised such an important point about the lack of emergency vehicles in terms of ambulances that would be attending to folks. We see an ambulance right there. But there's not an overwhelming number of ambulances coming in and out. There's two leaving right there. Is it difficult to read into? Well, now we're seeing quite a few ambulances after that overhead shot didn't appear to be that many. But if it were a mass,
we see three.
Yeah, if it were a mass casualty event, though, where there was a possibility of many lives lost, do you expect that you would see more of an emergency medical a presence there, or is that impossible to deduce based on just the pictures that we're seeing?
Yeah, it can cut both ways, unfortunately. It can cut both ways, but these mass shooters, sometimes they don't kill every person, so they wound a lot of people. They kill some and they wound some. And then what happens, SWAT has to do is go in, locate, isolate, and evacuate. So they have to locate the shooter, isolate the
I don't mean to cut you off, but we just got a very, very important development. We are told that the imam of this mosque just posted on their official Facebook page that none of the staff or children inside of the mosque were injured in this apparent attempted shooting. So that is extremely good news. No one injured or killed.
Yes, that's extremely good news.
Yes. And that's the first
extremely good news.
That's the first full confirmation that we have that everyone outside of the shooters are safe. But that also leads to some of the questions that you were talking about there before, Jim, is like, what would the motive have been? What possibly could have happened that led to such an enormous police presence in such a quick period of time, and these potential shooters being subdued fatally? That would mean that the law enforcement on the scene must have thought that there was a serious threat here.
Right. Well, let's first of all say that most centers, Jewish centers, Islamic centers, big religious centers, they have a plan, like a school. So they have a lockdown plan. So if two attackers come in, maybe they have security. Maybe they have one of their elders who confronts them or locks them in a room or locks a door to an auditorium or something, and sometimes somehow slows them down. That slowdown can be enough for San Diego SWAT to get there. Remember, patrol gets there first. The local patrol officers, they have tactical rifles. But when SWAT gets there, they have everything. Long scoped rifles, they can kill from a distance. They're very proficient operators. They have gas, they have armored vehicles. They can get very close. So if they locate the attackers quickly, within a few minutes, while the attackers possibly have been discombobulated by the resistance from personnel inside the mosque, then it gives SWAT the advantage to, shoot them, kill them, neutralize them. So we may be looking at a scenario here where someone inside, like the school principal we saw recently, or the security guards at the Jewish Center in Michigan, thwarted them, interrupted them, locked the door, somehow slowed them down for their intent and purpose, which could have been mass slaughter of the children, or it could have been a takeover of the mosque. We have two people here. Two people. Maybe they want to take over the mosque, hold everyone hostage and make demands. And, it could be something like that. We don't really have the answer. But if they do that, and they're trying to do that, that may give SWAT a few extra minutes to get there. And they don't need a lot because they're right there in San Diego, and they're very good. And they get there, and once they get there, they're going to take care of these guys fast, and they apparently did that. So that's some good news from the imam, and no children. It's really a miracle, really. To our men going in a mosque, a school like that's it's a miracle. And it's great police work, and I'll bet we have some heroes inside.
Okay, Jim Cavanaugh, if you can do me a favor and stand by, we're going to continue to monitor this situation. If we get additional information, Jim, we'll bring you back. But just to update our viewers that may have just tuned in, this was an active shooter situation in San Diego, the Clairemont neighborhood. We're told that two of the gunmen, the alleged gunmen, were subdued. We know NBC News has confirmed that at least one of those gunmen is dead. But the imam of this mosque posting on Facebook that none of the staff at the mosque or any of the children that were at the school there, and these were young children, pre-K through third grade, none of the children were injured. They are all safe. So despite what is an enormous police presence and what looked to be a very hectic scene, perhaps the best possible outcome.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.